So you finally brought her home. Mr. Anthony's voice cut through the room like a knife. Cecilia stood frozen in the middle of the large sitting room, her fingers locked together, her smile stuck halfway on her lips. The expensive chandelier above them glittered, but her world had gone dark. Mr. Anthony took a slow step forward. "Do you know," he said, pointing at her, "that this woman standing before you is not who she claims to be?" Albert turned sharply. "Dad, what are you talking about?" Cecilia's heart slammed against her chest. Mr. Anthony's eyes never left her face. "You still remember me, don't you?" he asked her coldly. "Or should I remind you of the night you told me you loved me, just before you disappeared with my money?" The words hit the room like thunder. Albert staggered back. "What?" Cecilia's legs shook. "Sir, please," she whispered. Mr. Anthony did not stop. "You pretended to be a decent woman," he continued, his voice rising. "You took advantage of my trust. You drained my account. And as if that was not enough, you slept with my friend too." Albert's eyes burned as he looked at Cecilia. "You did all that?" he asked, his voice breaking. Tears rushed down Cecilia's face. "I have changed," she cried. "I swear I have changed." Albert shook his head slowly. "All this time," he said quietly, "you acted like a saint. And now I find out everything I knew about you was a lie." Cecilia reached for him, but he stepped back. At that moment, she knew her past had finally caught up with her, and nothing would ever be the same again. Cecilia was very good at pretending. Pretending was how she survived. To strangers, she looked like a calm, hard-working young woman with a clean life. But behind that soft smile was a long road of lies, tricks, and broken people she left behind. Cecilia was Nigerian, 27 years old, medium height, with a pretty face that made people trust her easily. Her eyes could look innocent when she wanted them to. Her voice could sound gentle and honest, and that was her greatest weapon. She had two lives. One life was dirty and hidden. The other life was neat and bright. In her hidden life, Cecilia was a prostitute and a scammer. She moved from one man to another, from one fake job to another. She would dress like a serious professional, carry documents she printed at a cyber cafe, and walk confidently into offices or private homes. "I handle contracts," she would say. "I work with a big company." If the person was not careful, she would collect their money and disappear. No apologies, no goodbyes, just silence. That life paid her bills. But it also left her empty. Then Albert entered her life. It was raining heavily that night that she met Albert. Cecilia stood under a small umbrella outside a restaurant, angry and tired. A man had promised her easy money but never showed up. Her heels hurt. Her stomach was empty. She was about to leave when a black car stopped beside her. The window rolled down. A young man with kind eyes looked at her. "Are you okay?" he asked. Cecilia looked up. Something about his voice was different. No hunger, no pride, just concern. "I'm fine," she lied quickly. "My name is Albert," he said. "I can drop you somewhere safe." Cecilia studied him. He looked rich, but calm, not the loud type. She hesitated, then nodded. That was the first step into a life she never planned. Albert did not treat her like the men she knew. He did not rush her. He did not demand anything. He asked about her day. He listened. He respected her. Cecilia created a new story about herself. She told him she worked in an office. She said she lived a quiet life. Albert believed her, and slowly Cecilia began to believe the lie herself. She stopped seeing old clients. She blocked numbers. She stayed indoors more. For the first time, she wanted something real. She wanted to be someone's wife. But every lie has a shadow, and shadows follow you. One afternoon, Albert took Cecilia to a big event. Important people filled the hall. Cecilia smiled and greeted people politely. Then she saw a man across the room. Her heart stopped. She recognized him instantly. He was someone she had scammed in the past. Their eyes almost met. Cecilia turned away quickly. Her palms sweated. Albert noticed. "Are you okay?" "Yes," she said softly, "just tired." That was when she knew her past was still alive, waiting. When Albert proposed, Cecilia cried real tears, not because of the ring, but because she knew she could lose everything. She said yes anyway. because love felt better than fear. 2 days later, Albert smiled and said the words that destroyed her peace. "My father wants to meet you." Cecilia froze. "What is his name?" she asked quietly. "Mr. Anthony," Albert replied. Her world tilted. That name was not new. That name belonged to a man she once lied to, loved falsely, and robbed. Now Cecilia stood in front of Mr. Anthony again. Not as a lover, not as a liar hiding in the shadows, but as the woman her son wanted to marry. Mr. Anthony's eyes were hard. Albert's heart was breaking. Cecilia's past was no longer hidden. And the dinner table between them suddenly felt like a courtroom. Mr. Anthony folded his arms and said slowly, "Now, Cecilia, tell my son the truth. Every single one of your lies." Cecilia opened her mouth and realized this was only the beginning of her punishment. The room felt smaller, not because the walls moved, but because the truth was pressing in from every side. Cecilia stood in front of Albert and Mr. Anthony, her mouth open, her throat dry. Her heart was beating so fast it hurt. "Tell him," Mr. Anthony said again, his voice firm. "Tell my son who you really are." Albert's eyes stayed on Cecilia's face. He was not angry yet. That hurt more. "Cecilia," he said softly, "please, just explain." Cecilia's knees felt weak. She slowly sat back down on the sofa because she was afraid she might fall. Her fingers trembled. I didn't plan for this to happen," she began, her voice shaking. Mr. Anthony scoffed. "You never planned to be caught." "Dad," Albert snapped, then looked back at Cecilia. "Go on." Cecilia swallowed hard. "I was not a good person before," she said. "I made bad choices." "That's not an answer," Mr. Anthony said coldly. "Bad choices do not explain fake love and stolen money." Cecilia closed her eyes for a moment, then she opened them, and she started from the part she hated the most. "I grew up poor," Cecilia said. "Very poor." Albert listened quietly. "My father died when I was young. My mother sold food by the roadside. Some days we ate once, some days we didn't eat at all." Mr. Anthony's face did not change. Cecilia continued, "I finished secondary school, but there was no money for anything else. I came to Lagos looking for work. I slept with friends, sometimes on the floor." Albert's brows pulled together. "I tried to find a normal job," she said quickly. "I really tried, but every place asked for experience, or connection, or something I didn't have." She paused, then whispered, "I got tired." The room was quiet. "One day," Cecilia said, "a woman told me I could make quick money. She said I was pretty and smart. She said I just needed to use what I had." Albert's jaw tightened. "I said no at first," Cecilia said, tears filling her eyes. "But hunger is loud. And shame gets quiet when you are hungry." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "That's how I entered prostitution." Albert looked away. Mr. Anthony crossed his arms. "And the scams?" Mr. Anthony asked sharply. Cecilia flinched. "After some time," she said, "men started trusting me easily. Some told me about their businesses, their plans, their money." She took a deep breath. "I learned how to talk, how to dress, how to sound educated. I started pretending to be a professional woman. I printed fake documents. I offered fake contracts." Albert stared at the floor. "And when they paid you?" Mr. Anthony asked. "I ran," Cecilia said quietly. "I blocked them. I moved." Mr. Anthony nodded slowly. "Like you did to me." Cecilia's head dropped. "Yes," she whispered. "I met you," Cecilia said, turning to Albert, "when I was still that person." Albert looked at her again. "But I didn't meet you as a scam," she said quickly. "I didn't plan to take anything from you." Albert did not answer. "You were kind," she said. "You didn't touch me. You didn't push me. You didn't talk down on me." Her voice broke. "I wanted to be different with you." Mr. Anthony laughed bitterly. "So you decided to start your new life with a lie?" Cecilia nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. "I was scared." Albert's voice was low. "Scared of what?" "Of losing you," Cecilia said. "If I told you the truth, you would have walked away." Albert closed his eyes. "And you thought lying was better," he said. Cecilia said nothing, because the answer was yes. Albert stood up and walked away from the sofa. He moved to the window and stared outside. The city lights glittered like nothing was wrong. Cecilia watched his back. She had never seen him this quiet. That scared her more than shouting. "Albert," she called softly. He did not turn. "Please," she said. "I know I did wrong, but I stopped. I swear I stopped." Mr. Anthony snorted. "After how many people?" Cecilia looked at him. "I changed because I wanted to change, not because I was caught." Albert finally turned. "How long?" he asked. Cecilia blinked. "How long? What? How long have you been pretending to be someone else with me?" Albert asked. Cecilia thought. "From the first day," she admitted. Albert nodded slowly, like someone counting invisible wounds. "So every story," he said, "every smile, every I love you." "They were real," Cecilia cried. "My feelings were real." "But your name?" Albert asked. Cecilia froze. Albert's eyes sharpened. "Is Cecilia even your real name?" The question hit her like a slap. Mr. Anthony leaned forward. "Well?" he asked. Cecilia's lips shook. "No," she whispered. Albert laughed once, short and broken. "What is your real name?" he asked. Cecilia closed her eyes. "Chiamaka," she said. The name fell into the room like a stone. Albert shook his head slowly. "I don't even know who you are," he said. Mr. Anthony stood up. "You see," he said to Albert, "this is why I warned you. People don't just change because they meet love." Cecilia stood up too, her hands raised like she was surrendering. "I am not asking you to forget," she said. "I am asking you to see who I am now." Mr. Anthony walked closer. "Who you are now," he said. "Is someone standing in my house after stealing from me?" Cecilia nodded. "I will pay you back," she said quickly. "Every kobo, I promise." Mr. Anthony smiled without joy. "Money is not the problem," he said. "Trust is." Albert looked between them, confused and torn. "Dad," he said quietly, "please, let me think." Mr. Anthony turned to him sharply. "Think," he repeated, "about marrying a woman who once slept with men for money and lied to you daily." Cecilia gasped. Albert clenched his fists. "That's enough," Albert said. Mr. Anthony paused. Albert looked at Cecilia. "I need time," he said slowly. "I can't make a decision like this now." Cecilia nodded quickly. "Take all the time you need." Albert turned to his father. "Dad, please," he said, "let her stay tonight. It's late." Mr. Anthony stared at Cecilia for a long moment. Then he said, "She can stay, but she does not step into my son's room." Cecilia nodded again, relief and fear mixing inside her. Cecilia lay awake in the guest room. The bed was soft, the room was quiet, but her mind was loud. She replayed Albert's face again and again, the hurt, the confusion, the distance. She cried into the pillow, biting it so no sound would come out. She knew one thing clearly now. She might lose Albert, and it would be because of the life she chose before she met him. Very late in the night, Cecilia's phone vibrated. She wiped her face and checked the screen. Unknown number. Her heart jumped. She hesitated, then she opened the message. "Long time, Chiamaka. Did you think Lagos would forget you?" Her breath caught. Another message came. "I saw you today. You look rich now." Her hands shook, then the last message dropped like poison. "If you don't want your husband to know everything, call me." Cecilia sat up straight in bed. Her heart pounded, because the past was not done with her, and this time it wanted payment. She stared at the phone as it rang, unknown number, ringing, waiting. Cecilia lifted the phone to her ear just as the guest room door creaked open behind her. She turned sharply and froze. Albert stood there, his face unreadable. "Who are you talking to?" he asked quietly. Cecilia's phone slipped from her hand. The phone hit the floor with a soft sound, but in Cecilia's ears it sounded like thunder. Albert stood at the door of the guest room, still in his clothes, his face tight with sleepless thoughts. His eyes moved from Cecilia's shaking hands to the phone on the floor. "Who were you talking to?" he asked again, slowly. Cecilia's mouth opened, but no sound came out. She bent quickly and picked up the phone, her fingers trembling so badly she almost dropped it again. "No one," she said too fast. It was a wrong number." Albert did not move. He stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. The click of the lock made Cecilia's chest tighten. "Cecilia," he said quietly, "it's past midnight. You're crying. Your phone rings. And you tell me it's nothing." He looked tired. "I don't have strength for more lies," he added. Cecilia felt her knees weaken. She slowly sat back on the bed. "It's someone from my past," she whispered. Albert's eyes hardened. "Which past?" "The one you just found out about," she said. Albert rubbed his face with his hand. "Tell me everything," he said. "Now." Cecilia stared at the phone. The screen lit up again. Another message came in. Albert saw it. "Give me the phone," he said. Cecilia pulled it to her chest. "Please don't." Albert's voice rose slightly. "Cecilia." Her eyes filled with tears. "If you read it, everything will be worse," she cried. Albert froze. "Worse than this?" he asked. Slowly, gently, he reached out and took the phone from her hands. Cecilia did not fight him. She just watched, helpless, as he unlocked the screen. Albert read the messages, his jaw tightened. "Long time, Chiamaka," he read aloud. "Did you think Lagos would forget you?" He looked up at her. "You told me you stopped," he said quietly. "I did," Cecilia cried. "I swear I did." Albert continued reading. "If you don't want your husband to know everything, call me." He laughed once, bitter and dry. "Husband," he repeated, "so this person knows about us." Cecilia nodded weakly. Albert handed the phone back to her. "Who is it?" he asked. Cecilia swallowed. "His name is Kola," she said. "He used to work with me." "Work with you how?" Albert asked. "He helped me find victims," she whispered. Albert closed his eyes. "So he knows everything," Albert said. "Every lie." "Yes," Cecilia said. Albert stepped back like he needed space to breathe. "And now he wants money," Albert said. "Yes," she answered. Albert was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Call him." Cecilia's head snapped up. "What?" "Call him," Albert repeated. "I want to hear what he wants." "No," Cecilia cried. "He will ruin everything." Albert's voice became firm. "If you don't call him, I will." Cecilia stared at him. Then slowly she raised the phone to her ear. Her hands shook as she pressed call. It rang once, twice. Then someone answered. "Chiamaka," a man's voice said smoothly. "I knew you would call." Cecilia swallowed hard. "What do you want, Kola?" Albert listened closely. Kola laughed softly. "Straight to business. You've changed." "Talk," Cecilia said. "What do you want?" "I want what I deserve," Kola replied. "You're living well now. Rich man. Big house." Albert's jaw tightened. "How much?" Cecilia asked. Kola paused. 10 million naira, he said. Cecilia gasped. Albert's eyes widened. "Or," Kola continued calmly, "I start talking." Albert stepped forward and took the phone. "This is Albert," he said. "Her fiancé." Kola laughed loudly. "Ah, so the rich man himself." Albert's voice was cold. "You will not get a kobo from us." Kola chuckled. "Then you will get the truth. I have pictures, videos, names." Albert's hand shook slightly. "You think you can scare me?" Albert asked. "I know I can," Kola replied, "because she's still hiding things from you." Albert's eyes flicked to Cecilia. "What things?" Albert asked. Kola smiled through his voice. "Ask her about the politician in Abuja," he said, "or the hotel manager in Ikeja." Cecilia screamed, "Stop!" Albert ended the call. The room fell into heavy silence. Albert turned slowly to Cecilia. "What else are you hiding?" he asked. Cecilia shook her head violently. "Nothing," she cried. "Please believe me." Albert studied her face. "I don't know how to," he said quietly. Morning came without sleep. Cecilia sat at the dining table, staring at food she could not eat. Albert sat across from her, silent. Mr. Anthony walked in, dressed neatly, his face serious. "Good morning," he said. Albert did not reply. Cecilia whispered, "Good morning, sir." Mr. Anthony looked at her. "You look like someone who didn't sleep," he said. Albert stood up. "Dad," he said, "someone from her past is blackmailing her." Mr. Anthony's eyes sharpened. "Of course," he said, "evil always follows evil." Cecilia flinched. "They are asking for money," Albert continued. Mr. Anthony nodded slowly. "And if you pay, they will ask again." Albert sighed. I know. Mr. Anthony turned to Cecilia. Listen to me carefully, he said. Your past is not finished. It is only quiet because you are comfortable. Cecilia bowed her head. What should we do? Albert asked. Mr. Anthony's voice was firm. She must go to the police. Cecilia's head snapped up. No. Albert turned to her. Why not? Because they will arrest me too, she cried, for my past crimes. Mr. Anthony shrugged. Actions have consequences. Albert rubbed his temples. This is too much, he whispered. That afternoon, Cecilia stepped outside the house for the first time since the night before. She needed air. The gate was open. As she walked toward the small garden, a voice spoke behind her. Chiamaka. Her heart stopped. She turned slowly. A man leaned casually against a car across the street. Dark glasses, wide smile. Cola. What are you doing here? She whispered sharply. He smiled wider. Relax. I just wanted to see how you're doing. You can't be here, Cecilia said. They will see you. Cola laughed. Let them. Cecilia stepped closer, lowering her voice. Please, she said. Just leave. Cola removed his glasses. You look scared, he said. I like that. You will destroy my life, Cecilia said, tears in her eyes. Cola leaned forward. You destroyed many lives too. Remember? Cecilia shook. What do you want? She asked again. Cola's smile disappeared. I want my share, he said, or I walk into that house and greet your future father-in-law properly. Cecilia froze. You won't, she whispered. Cola smirked. Try me. At that moment, Albert's voice called from behind her. Cecilia. She turned. Albert stood at the doorway watching them. His eyes went from Cecilia to Cola. Who is that? Albert asked. Cola smiled brightly and waved. Good afternoon, he said. I'm an old friend. Albert walked closer. Cecilia's heart pounded wildly. Cola stretched out his hand. My name is Cola, he said. I worked closely with your fiancée. Albert did not shake his hand. Worked how? Albert asked. Cola laughed. Ask her. Albert turned to Cecilia slowly. Her legs felt weak. Cola leaned closer to Albert. She didn't tell you everything, he said quietly. I can fill in the gaps. Albert's fists clenched. That's enough, Albert said. Leave my property. Cola raised his hands. For now, he said, but we will talk again. He looked at Cecilia. You know my number. Cola walked away, whistling. Albert turned to Cecilia. His face was full of pain. You brought danger to my door, he said. I didn't mean to, she cried. Albert shook his head. I don't recognize my life anymore, he said. That night, Cecilia packed her bags. Albert watched from the doorway. I think it's best if I leave, she said quietly, before things get worse. Albert said nothing. I love you, Cecilia whispered. Albert's eyes filled, but his voice stayed cold. I don't know what love means anymore, he said. She nodded. As she pulled her suitcase toward the door, Mr. Anthony appeared. You cannot run forever, he said to her. Cecilia stopped. I know, she said. She stepped out into the night. The gate closed behind her. Outside, her phone vibrated. A message from Cola. Smart move. Now we talk properly. Cecilia looked up at the dark sky. She realized something then. The past was not done punishing her, and next time it might cost her more than love. She started walking into the darkness, not knowing that someone was watching her from across the street. The night swallowed Cecilia whole. Streetlights blurred as she dragged her suitcase down the quiet road, her steps slow and heavy. Every sound made her jump, the bark of a dog, the rush of a passing car, even her own breathing. She did not know where she was going. She only knew she could not stay. Albert's house had once felt like safety. Now it felt like a place where her sins had finally learned her address. Cecilia stopped walking and leaned against a street pole, breathing hard. Her chest hurt, not from walking, but from the weight inside her. She pulled out her phone. Another message from Cola blinked on the screen. You left the house. Good. Meet me tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. National Theatre car park. Cecilia stared at the message for a long time. She typed back with shaking fingers. What do you really want from me? The reply came almost immediately. You already know. Cecilia shut her eyes. She knew. Money, silence, fear. Those were the tools of her old life, and now they were being used on her. Cecilia spent the night in a cheap hotel, the kind with thin walls and flickering lights. She lay on the bed fully dressed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in her head. Albert's face, Mr. Anthony's cold voice, Cola's smile. She pressed her hands against her ears as if she could block the memories. I tried to change, she whispered into the empty room. But the room did not answer. Morning came too fast. Cecilia stood in front of the mirror, studying herself. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Her face looked tired. For the first time in a long while, she looked like the girl she used to be before the lies. She packed her hair simply and wore plain clothes. No makeup. No pretending. Today she would face the past. The National Theatre car park was quiet at that hour. Too quiet. Cecilia arrived early and stood near a pillar, hugging her bag close. At exactly 9 a.m., a black car pulled in. Cola stepped out. Same confident walk, same careless smile. You came, he said. I didn't have a choice, Cecilia replied. Cola leaned against his car. You always have a choice, he said. You just don't like the options. Cecilia crossed her arms. 10 million is impossible, she said. I don't have that kind of money. Cola laughed. You're engaged to a rich man, he said. Or were. Cecilia flinched. He won't give me money, she said. Cola's eyes narrowed. Then you better find another way, he replied. Cecilia took a deep breath. What if I go to the police, she asked. Cola smiled slowly. Then I go with you, he said. And I carry pictures, videos, names. You think you will walk free? Cecilia's stomach twisted. You won't, she whispered. Cola stepped closer. I already have, he said softly. I just haven't shown them yet. Cecilia's hand shook. You promised me once, she said, desperation in her voice. You said we were done. Cola laughed loudly. You believed that, he said. You really changed, Chiamaka. You've become soft. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled. Time is ticking, he said. 3 days. Either I get my money, or I start visiting people. Who? Cecilia asked. Cola's eyes sparkled. Albert, he said. His father. The police. Social media. Cecilia's heart dropped. You wouldn't dare, she said. Cola stepped back toward his car. Try me, he replied. Then he drove away, leaving dust and fear behind. Cecilia sat on a low wall, shaking. 3 days. She had 3 days to save herself, or lose everything forever. Her phone rang. Albert's name flashed on the screen. Her breath caught. She hesitated, then she answered. Hello? She said quietly. There was silence on the other end. Then Albert spoke. Where are you? He asked. Cecilia closed her eyes. Somewhere safe, she said. Albert exhaled slowly. I couldn't sleep, he said. I keep seeing your face. Her chest tightened. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know, Albert said. That's what makes it worse. Cecilia swallowed. There's something you need to know, she said. Albert's voice became alert. What is it? There's a man, she said, from my past. He's threatening me. He wants money. Albert was quiet. Is that why you left? He asked. Yes, she said. I didn't want to bring more trouble to your door. Albert sighed. You already did, he said gently. But running won't fix it, Cecilia's voice broke. I don't know what to do. Albert was silent for a long moment. Then he said, Come back. Cecilia froze. What? Come back to the house, Albert repeated. We will face this properly. No, Cecilia said quickly. Your father... My father is angry, Albert said, but he's not heartless. Cecilia shook her head, even though he couldn't see her. I'm scared, she admitted. Albert's voice softened. So am I, he said, but we can't let fear control everything. Cecilia's eyes filled with tears again. I don't deserve your help, she said. Albert replied quietly, maybe, but I still care. The call ended. Cecilia stared at her phone. For the first time in days, a small light flickered inside her chest. That evening, Albert sat with his father in the living room. Mr. Anthony listened without interrupting. When Albert finished explaining about Kola, the blackmail and the threat, the old man leaned back. "So," Mr. Anthony said, "her past has grown teeth." Albert nodded. "She's scared," Albert said, "and alone." Mr. Anthony was quiet for a while, then he said, "Bring her back." Albert looked up in surprise. "You mean, not as your wife," Mr. Anthony said sharply, "but as a problem we must finish." Albert nodded slowly. Mr. Anthony's eyes hardened. "I don't protect criminals," he said, "but I don't like bullies either." Cecilia returned to the house that night. Her steps were slow, her head was bowed. Mr. Anthony was waiting. He did not smile, he did not shout. He only said, "Sit." Cecilia sat. "You have enemies," Mr. Anthony said. "That is clear." She nodded. "They will not stop," he continued, "unless you face them." Cecilia's hands clenched. "I'm ready," she said softly, "for whatever punishment." Mr. Anthony studied her face. "Good," he said, "because this is no longer just about you." Albert stepped closer to her. "You are not alone tonight," he said. Cecilia looked up at him. Her heart ached. They talked for hours. About Kola, about evidence, about police, about risks. Cecilia told everything, names, places, times. It felt like tearing open old wounds, but she did not hide anything anymore. When she finished, Mr. Anthony nodded slowly. "You will meet him again," he said. Cecilia froze. "What?" Albert asked sharply. Mr. Anthony looked at both of them. "We will give him what he wants," he said. Cecilia gasped. "Money?" she asked. Mr. Anthony smiled slightly. "No," he said. "A trap." Albert stiffened. "This is dangerous," he said. Mr. Anthony's eyes were cold and sure. "So is letting him go free." Cecilia's heart raced. "When?" she asked. Mr. Anthony stood up. "Tomorrow," he said, "and this time the past will not walk away." That night Cecilia lay awake again, but this time it was not fear alone that filled her chest, it was hope mixed with dread. Her phone vibrated, a new message from Kola. "Tomorrow, same place. Don't disappoint me." Cecilia stared at the screen. Tomorrow she would face the man who knew her darkest secrets. Tomorrow everything could end, or explode beyond control. She turned off her phone, unaware that Kola had already made his own move, and that someone close to Albert had just received a message too. Morning came with a heavy sky, the kind of sky that looked like it was waiting to decide whether to rain or shine. Cecilia sat quietly in the back seat of the car as Mr. Anthony's driver took them toward the National Theatre car park. Albert sat beside her, silent, his hands folded tightly. Mr. Anthony sat in front, calm, sharp, and alert. No one talked much. There was nothing left to say. Everything that needed to happen would happen today. Cecilia's heart beat fast, but for the first time in a long while, she was not running. She was not hiding. She was not pretending. She was facing the truth. The car stopped. Cecilia stepped out slowly. The car park looked the same as yesterday, wide, empty, quiet, too quiet. Then she saw him. Kola leaned against his car again, smiling like nothing in the world could touch him. "You came," he said when he saw her. "Good girl." Cecilia felt anger rise in her chest, but she controlled it. "Yes," she said calmly. "I came." Kola's eyes moved past her. He noticed Albert, then Mr. Anthony. His smile wavered for a second. "Well, well," Kola said. "Family meeting?" Mr. Anthony stepped forward. "I believe you have been disturbing this young woman," he said firmly. Kola laughed. "Old man, this doesn't concern you." Mr. Anthony smiled slightly. "Everything that touches my son concerns me." Kola's eyes narrowed. "Where's my money?" Kola asked. Cecilia took a deep breath. "There is no money," she said. Kola laughed loudly. "Then I talk," he said. "Today." Mr. Anthony nodded calmly. "Please do," he said. Kola blinked. "What?" Mr. Anthony raised his hand. At that moment, two plainclothes police officers stepped out from behind a nearby car. Kola froze. His smile vanished. "What is this?" Kola demanded. One officer stepped forward. "Kola Adeyemi," the officer said. "You are under arrest for blackmail, extortion, fraud, and conspiracy." Kola laughed nervously. "This is a joke," he said. "You have nothing." Mr. Anthony looked at him coldly. "You underestimated two things," he said. "Time and the truth." Albert stepped forward. "We recorded your calls," Albert said, "saved your messages, tracked your threats." Cecilia's chest tightened as she spoke next. "And I gave them everything," she said. "Every name, every place, every crime." Kohler stared at her in shock. "You wouldn't dare," he whispered. Cecilia met his eyes. "I already did," she said. The officers moved closer. Kohler backed away. "You're all fools," he shouted. "She's the real criminal." Cecilia nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. "I was." The officers turned to her. Cecilia raised her hands. "I am ready," she said. "I will face my past." There was a pause. One officer spoke gently. "Your cooperation has been noted," he said. "We'll talk later." They handcuffed Kohler as he screamed and cursed. As they led him away, he turned back and shouted at Cecilia. "You think you've won?" he yelled. "Your past will never leave you." Cecilia watched him go, and for the first time his words did not control her. Later that day, Cecilia sat in a quiet police office. She told her story again. Everything. She did not lie, she did not hide, she did not pretend. When she finished, the officer looked at her seriously. "You committed crimes," he said. "That cannot be ignored." Cecilia nodded. "I understand." "But," he continued, "your cooperation helped us catch a bigger criminal network." Cecilia waited, her heart pounding. "You will face consequences," he said, "but not prison." Tears filled her eyes. "You will repay what you can," the officer said, "and you will serve community service, long hours." Cecilia nodded again. "Thank you," she whispered. That evening, Cecilia stood in Mr. Anthony's living room once more. This time there was no anger in the air, only calm. Mr. Anthony looked at her carefully. "You faced your past," he said. "Most people don't." Cecilia bowed her head. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said. "From you, or from Albert." Mr. Anthony was quiet. Then he said, "I was angry because you reminded me of my own mistakes." Cecilia looked up, surprised. "I trusted blindly once," Mr. Anthony said, "and it cost me dearly." He sighed. "You hurt people," he said, "but today you chose truth." He looked at Albert. "What happens next is your decision," he said. Mr. Anthony walked away, leaving them alone. Albert stood quietly for a long time. Cecilia did not move. She waited. Finally, Albert spoke. "I don't know how to forget what you did," he said. Cecilia nodded. "I don't ask you to," she replied. "I don't know if I can trust you again," he continued. "I understand," she said. Albert looked at her eyes. "But I know this," he said. "The woman who ran would never have faced today." Cecilia's tears fell freely now. "I want to be better," she said, "even if I'm alone." Albert stepped closer. "You won't be," he said softly. Cecilia froze. Albert took a deep breath. "We won't rush anything," he said. "We won't pretend the past didn't happen." He held her hands. "But if you are willing to keep choosing truth, then I am willing to try." Cecilia cried openly. "I will," she promised. Months passed. Cecilia worked long hours cleaning streets, helping at shelters, and speaking to young girls about the dangers of shortcuts and lies. It was not easy. People judged her, some recognized her, but she did not hide. Albert visited often. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they sat quietly. Trust returned slowly, like a wound healing. One evening, as the sun set, Albert met Cecilia outside the shelter where she volunteered. "You look different," he said. She smiled. "So do you." Albert reached into his pocket and pulled out the same ring. Cecilia's breath caught. "I'm not proposing again," he said quickly. "Not yet." She smiled through tears. "I just want you to know," he said, "that I see you, the real you." Cecilia nodded. "That's all I ever wanted," she said. Cecilia stood alone that night, looking at the city lights. Her life was not perfect, but it was honest. Her past no longer chased her, because she had finally turned to face it, and for the first time she was free. Thanks for watching. Do you like this video? Then let us know in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe for interesting stories.